They want you to react. Every insult, every provocation, every calculated disrespect. It's a test, and most people fail it within seconds. The moment you react emotionally, you've lost. You've handed them your power. You've shown them exactly where you're weak, and they'll press that button again and again until you're broken. Machiavelli understood something most men will never grasp. The person who controls their emotions controls the room. The person who stays cold while everyone else burns owns the game. You're about to learn why emotional control isn't just a skill, it's a weapon, one that separates rulers from slaves. This isn't content for everyone. Most people will click away because what you're about to hear makes them uncomfortable. It exposes truths they're not ready for, strategies they don't have the discipline to execute, but you're still here. That tells me something about you. You're not looking for comfort. You're looking for power. Real power. The kind that doesn't announce itself. The kind that moves silently through boardrooms, relationships, and battlefields. You're learning the psychology of princes, not peasants. Drop one word in the comments that represents your greatest weakness when provoked. Just one. Own it.
Principle 1. The mirror of stone. Here's what they don't tell you about emotional control. It's not about suppressing your feelings. It's about refusing to let anyone see them. Your face becomes a mirror of stone, your voice a flat line, your body language completely neutral. When someone insults you, attacks you, tries to destabilize you, you give them nothing. Machiavelli wrote that it's better to be feared than loved, but there's something even more powerful than fear. It's the inability to be read. When people can't predict you, they can't control you. And what people can't control, they begin to fear. Look at the most powerful people in any room. They're not the loudest, they're the quietest. They're the ones who listen while everyone else performs. They're collecting data while others leak it. Every reaction you give is information. Every angry outburst, every defensive response, every emotional breakdown, it's intel, and your enemies will use it to destroy you. So here's the application. The next time someone tries to get under your skin, practice the pause. 3 seconds of silence. Look at them. No expression, no words, just cold, calculated observation. Watch how uncomfortable they become. Watch how they start explaining themselves, justifying, backtracking. You didn't say a word, and you won. But here's the warning. This power is dangerous because once you master emotional opacity, people will project their fears onto you. They'll assume you're calculating revenge, planning their downfall. Sometimes you are. Sometimes you're not. But they'll never know. And that uncertainty is your greatest advantage. Principle 2. Emotional debt collection. Most people give away their reactions for free. Someone disrespects them, they react immediately. Someone challenges them, they defend instantly. It's predictable, it's weak, and it costs them everything. But you're going to start operating differently. You're going to treat emotional responses like currency, rare, valuable, strategic. Machiavelli understood that timing is everything. A reaction given at the wrong moment is worthless, but a reaction delayed, calculated, and deployed with precision, that's devastating. When someone wrongs you, don't react. Record it. File it away in your mental ledger. Let them think they got away with it. Let them get comfortable. Let them forget. Then, when the moment is strategically optimal, when they're vulnerable, when the stakes are highest, you remind them. Not with anger, with cold precision. You cash in that emotional debt when it destroys them the most. This is how power players operate. They don't fight every battle. They choose the wars that matter. They let small disrespects slide because they're playing a longer game. Think about it like this. Your boss undermines you in a meeting. The average person confronts them immediately, gets defensive, makes it worse. The strategic person, they say nothing. They document it. They continue performing at a high level. Then, 3 months later, when that critical project is on the line, they're suddenly unavailable. Not rebellious, just busy. No drama, no explanation, just consequence. Here's how you apply this. Start keeping a mental record of transgressions, not for revenge, for strategy. Ask yourself, is this worth spending my emotional currency on right now? Or is there a better time, a better context, a moment when my response will have maximum impact? Most of the time, the answer is wait. But the danger here is real. If you wait too long, if you collect too much debt without ever cashing it in, you become passive. You become someone people can walk over without consequence. So the balance is essential. Collect strategically, deploy ruthlessly. Never let anyone forget that you forget nothing.
Principle 3. The power of controlled silence. Silence is not empty. It's full of answers. Most people fear silence. They fill it with nervous laughter, unnecessary words, explanations no one asked for. They think silence makes them look weak. They're wrong. Silence makes you look dangerous. When you're silent after someone speaks, after someone accuses, after someone provokes, your silence forces them to fill the void. And in that void, they reveal everything: their insecurities, their motivations, their hand. Machiavelli knew this. The prince who speaks less learns more. The leader who withholds their thoughts forces others to speculate, to project, to expose themselves trying to figure you out. Think about interrogations. Detectives don't break suspects with questions. They break them with silence. A suspect confesses not because they were asked, but because the silence became unbearable. You can use this in every interaction. Someone makes a passive-aggressive comment. Don't defend, don't counter, just look at them. Silent, calm, wait. Watch them squirm. Watch them add more words, digging themselves deeper. Watch them apologize for something you never even addressed. In negotiations, the person who speaks first after the offer loses. The silence creates pressure, anxiety, the need to fill the space with concessions. In conflicts, silence communicates something words never can. It says, "You're not worth my energy." It says, "I'm thinking 3 steps ahead of you." It says, "I know something you don't." Here's the application. Train yourself to embrace silence. When someone finishes speaking, count to 3 before responding. In tense situations, extend it to 5. Let the discomfort build. Let them marinate in their own uncertainty. But here's the risk. Silence can be misread as weakness if your body language doesn't support it. You need the stone face, the steady gaze, the relaxed posture. Without those, silence looks like fear. With them, it looks like power. Master this, and you'll watch people confess to crimes you didn't even accuse them of. Principle 4. Emotional indifference as armor. They can't hurt what they can't touch. Most people wear their emotions on their sleeve, their pride, their ego, their need for validation, and every single one of those things is a target. The moment someone knows what you care about, they know how to destroy you. Machiavelli advised the prince to appear religious, appear merciful, appear loyal, but never actually be bound by those things. Why? Because genuine attachment is vulnerability. What you love can be used against you. What you fear can be weaponized. Emotional indifference doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't show what you feel to people who haven't earned that access. It means you create layers between your true self and the world. Look at the most untouchable people you know. You can insult them and they smile. You can threaten them and they shrug. You can try to shame them and they look bored. Why? Because they've detached their sense of self from external validation. They don't need you to like them. They don't need you to respect them. They don't need anything from you. And that makes them immune to your manipulation. Here's the brutal truth. The more you care about what people think, the more power they have over you. The more you need approval, recognition, validation, the easier you are to control. So how do you apply this? Start by identifying what you're emotionally attached to. Your reputation, your appearance, your intelligence, your moral superiority. Whatever it is, that's your weak point. Now imagine someone attacking that exact thing. Imagine the worst insult, the worst accusation, the worst public humiliation related to it. Visualize it, feel it. Then ask yourself, if this happened, what would actually change about my life? Usually, nothing. Most of what we defend so emotionally has zero real-world impact. It's just ego. And ego is expensive. Practice this. When someone criticizes you, instead of defending, say, "Maybe you're right," and move on. Watch their confusion. They were ready for a fight. You gave them nothing. But the danger is, true indifference taken too far makes you inhuman. People will sense it. They'll distrust you. They'll fear you in the wrong way. So you need to maintain the appearance of caring about certain things, even if internally you've detached. You show selective emotion, strategic vulnerability, just enough to seem human, never enough to give them a knife.
Principle 5, the calculated explosion. Here's the paradox of emotional control. Sometimes you need to lose control. But here's the key. You're not actually losing control. You're performing loss of control. There's a massive difference. Machiavelli understood that fear is a tool, and sometimes people need to see what happens when you're pushed too far. Not because you actually lost your temper, but because it's strategically useful for them to believe you did. A calculated explosion is a deliberate display of anger used to reset boundaries, create fear, or establish dominance. But it's not real. It's theater. You're in complete control the entire time, even as you're yelling, slamming doors, or cutting someone off completely. Why does this work? Because most people are so used to your calm that when you finally break, they assume they've crossed a line they can never uncross. They don't realize you chose that moment. You chose that reaction. You chose the intensity. And after the explosion, you return to cold calm immediately. No apologies, no explanations, just back to stone. This creates cognitive dissonance in them. They don't know if you're stable or unstable, predictable or chaotic, and that uncertainty is control. Think about bosses or leaders who are calm 99% of the time, but have legendary stories of the one time they lost it. Everyone walks on eggshells around them because no one wants to be the trigger. That's not accidental. That's design. Here's how you use it. Choose one moment, one boundary violation that actually matters to you. Not every insult, not every disrespect, one thing. And when someone crosses it, you unleash a disproportionate response. Not violence, but verbal intensity, cold fury, immediate and complete withdrawal of your presence or resources. Then you never mention it again. You don't rehash it, you don't apologize, you just continue as if nothing happened. They'll get the message, and they'll never test that boundary again. But here's the trap. If you do this too often, it loses impact. It becomes your default, and people learn to ignore it. The calculated explosion only works if it's rare, if it's unexpected, if it seems like you finally snapped after infinite patience. Use it once a year, maximum, and make sure it's memorable.
Principle 6. Observational superiority. While they're reacting, you're watching. Most people are trapped in their own emotional experience. They're so busy being angry, being offended, being validated, being hurt, that they miss everything happening around them. But you're different. You've trained yourself to step outside your emotions and observe. You're watching the room, reading micro-expressions, noticing who stays silent when someone attacks you, noticing who laughs, noticing who defends you, noticing the power dynamics, the alliances, the hidden agendas. Machiavelli was a master observer. He studied power not from books, but from watching courts, politicians, betrayals, and wars. He saw patterns others missed because he wasn't emotionally invested in the outcomes. He was collecting data. This is your advantage. When you're not reacting, your brain is free to analyze. You see things emotional people miss. You notice the person in the back of the room who's enjoying your humiliation a little too much. You notice your so-called friend who didn't speak up. You notice the power vacuum forming when a leader shows weakness. And you file all of it away. Here's the application. In every tense situation, in every conflict, in every meeting where emotions run high, make it a game of it. Detach emotionally and turn into a researcher. Ask yourself, who benefits if I react? Who's pushing my buttons and why? What's the larger game played here? Most arguments aren't about what they appear to be about. They're territory disputes, power plays, tests of dominance. If you're too busy being offended, you miss the real game. So next time someone provokes you, don't react. Study them. Watch their eyes, their posture, their breathing. Are they nervous? Are they performing for someone else? Are they testing you or trying to impress a third party? The information you gather in these moments is worth more than any comeback you could deliver. But here's the edge you walk. If you're always observing and never participating, people will sense you're not fully present. They'll feel watched, studied, analyzed. It makes them uncomfortable. So you need to balance. Participate just enough to seem engaged. Observe just enough to stay 3 steps ahead. You're not in the game. You're above it, watching it. And occasionally, when it serves you, you reach down and move a piece.
Principle 7. The economy of emotion. Your emotional energy is finite. Most people spend it like they're rich. They get angry at traffic, offended by strangers online, devastated by minor rejections, anxious about things that will never happen. By the time something actually important occurs, they're empty. They have nothing left. They break down, burn out, or make emotional decisions that destroy them. You're going to operate differently. You're going to treat your emotional energy like a limited resource, like money, like ammunition. You don't waste it on things that don't matter. You save it for battles that do. Machiavelli understood resource management. He wrote about armies, alliances, and treasuries, but the principle applies to everything. Don't spend what you can't afford to lose. Don't fight wars you don't need to win. Emotional economy means this. Before you react to anything, ask yourself what it costs. Is this worth the energy? Does this move me toward my goals or away from them? Will I regret this expenditure tomorrow? Most of the time, the answer is no. Someone puts you off in traffic. Cost of anger, elevated cortisol, ruined mood, possible accident. Benefit? None. Don't spend. Someone insults you online. Cost, time, mental energy, looking defensive. Benefit? None. Don't spend. Someone undermines you at work. Cost of immediate reaction, looking emotional, potentially escalating. Benefit of strategic patience, time to build a case, document everything, and strike when it matters. Spend wisely. Here's how to implement this. Start tracking your emotional reactions for 1 week. Every time you get angry, anxious, offended, or hurt, write it down and review it. How many of those reactions actually mattered? How many changed anything? How many did you even remember 3 days later? Probably less than 10%. You've been wasting your energy on ghosts. Now create a hierarchy. What's worth your emotional investment? Threats to your safety, livelihood, or family? Yes. Strangers' opinions? No. Salvageable relationships? Maybe. Toxic people testing you? Never. Once you have this clarity, you'll find yourself reacting to almost nothing. And the things you do react to, you'll handle them with the full force of conserved energy, focused, devastating, efficient. But the danger is becoming cold to the point of isolation. If you never invest emotion in anything, you lose connection, you lose love, you lose meaning. So spend wisely, but do spend on things and people that earn it. Just make sure it's a choice, not a reflex.
Principle 8. Strategic vulnerability. Here's something most dark psychology content won't tell you. Appearing invulnerable all the time makes you a target. People don't trust perfect. They don't trust unbreakable. They suspect it. They test it. They want to find the crack. And if they think you have no weaknesses, they'll keep digging until they invent one. Machiavelli knew this. He advised princes to sometimes show mercy, not out of weakness, but because it made them seem human, relatable. It disarmed suspicion. Strategic vulnerability is the art of showing calculated weaknesses to hide your real ones. You reveal something that seems personal, something that makes you appear human and accessible, but it's not actually your true vulnerability. It's a decoy. And while people think they've figured you out, while they think they know how to get to you, they're looking in completely the wrong direction. Think of it like this: a billionaire who occasionally complains about his bad back. It makes him relatable. People think his weakness is physical pain. Meanwhile, his real vulnerability, maybe his dying need for his father's approval, stays completely hidden. You can use this everywhere. At work, you can mention you're terrible with remembering names. People laugh. They relate. They think they've found your flaw. Meanwhile, your real weakness, your fear of public humiliation, stays locked away. In relationships, you can admit you're not great at cooking, harmless, endearing, but your actual emotional trigger, the deep abandonment wound from childhood, never spoken. Here's the application. Identify your real vulnerabilities, the things that, if exploited, would break you. Then create surface-level vulnerabilities that are true but trivial. Share those. Let people think they know you. Let them feel like they have access. This serves two purposes. 1, it makes you seem trustworthy and human. 2, it misdirects anyone looking for leverage. But here's where it gets dangerous. You have to remember what's real and what's performance. If you perform vulnerability so often that you start believing your own decoys, you lose touch with yourself. You become a character. So keep the truth close. Write it down if you have to. Just never speak it to anyone who hasn't earned it through years of loyalty. And even then, maybe not.
Principle 9. The patience of predators. Reactive people are prey. They chase, they panic, they respond to every stimulus. They're controlled by their environment. You're going to be the predator. Predators don't chase, they wait.
They watch, they position themselves, and when the moment is right, when their target is vulnerable, distracted, weak, they strike. Fast, precise, final. Machiavelli studied Cesare Borgia, one of history's most ruthless operators. Borgia didn't react to his enemies. He waited. He let them think they were safe. He let them get comfortable, make mistakes, reveal their plans. Then he crushed them all in one night. This is the patience of power. Most people can't do this. They need immediate satisfaction, immediate revenge, immediate results. That's why they lose, because they act when they're angry, and anger makes you stupid. You're going to wait until you're calm, until you have all the information, until the conditions are perfect. Someone betrays you. Don't retaliate immediately. Wait. Watch what they do next. See who else they betray. See how they operate. Learn their patterns. Then, when they've forgotten about you, when they think they got away with it, when they're most exposed, you remove them from the board. No anger, no drama, just strategic elimination. Here's how this looks in practice. A colleague takes credit for your work. The reactive move, confront them publicly, make a scene, look petty. The predator move, say nothing. Let them take the credit. Then, on the next project, don't share your work early. Let them fail publicly when they have nothing to present. You haven't attacked them, you've just stopped helping. They destroyed themselves. A friend spreads rumors about you. The reactive move, spread rumors back, create drama. The predator move, let it play out. Let people see the truth over time. Meanwhile, distance yourself completely. No explanation, just absence. They lose access to you, and eventually, people see who the real problem was. Here's the key. You must be willing to wait months, sometimes years. Most people can't. Their ego demands immediate justice. But ego is expensive, and patience is profitable. The danger, though, is waiting so long that the moment passes, that you become passive rather than strategic. So you need to know the difference. Strategic patience has a timeline. It has a plan. Passivity is just fear dressed up as wisdom. Hunt when the time is right, not before, not after, exactly when.
Principle 10. Emotional sovereignty. Here's the final truth. Emotional control isn't about manipulating others, it's about owning yourself. Sovereignty means no one controls you without your permission, not through anger, not through guilt, not through fear or shame or love. You decide when you feel something, you decide what you feel, you decide how you respond. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must be like both the fox and the lion to recognize traps, the lion to frighten wolves. But above all, the prince must be his own master, not ruled by fortune, not ruled by the opinions of others, not ruled by his own passions. This is what you're building toward. Most people are puppets. Pull the right string, they dance. Say the right word, they explode. Push the right button, they crumble. They don't own themselves. Everyone else does. But you're becoming unreachable. Not because you're cold, not because you don't feel, but because you've built a fortress around your emotional core. People can knock on the walls, they can shout, they can throw stones, but they can't get in unless you open the gate. And you only open it for people who've proven they won't burn the place down.
Here's the practice. Every day someone will try to control your emotional state. The news will try to make you afraid. Social media will try to make you outraged. Your boss will try to stress you. Your family will try to guilt you. Random strangers will try to offend you. And every single time, you have a choice. You can hand them the keys to your mind, or you can stay sovereign. Ask yourself, do I want to feel this way right now? Is this emotion serving me, or is it serving someone else's agenda? If it's not serving you, dismiss it, not by suppressing it, by choosing something else. Choose calm, choose focus, choose strategic thinking. This isn't easy. It takes years to master, but every time you choose your response instead of reacting by default, you're reclaiming your sovereignty. You're taking back control. And eventually, you reach a state where almost nothing moves you, where you're so grounded in your own center that external chaos feels like weather. You observe it, you prepare for it, but you don't become it. That's freedom, real freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, the freedom to be unbothered by what you don't want. But here's the final warning. Emotional sovereignty can make you lonely because most people live in emotional chaos and they'll resent your peace. They'll call you cold, detached, heartless. They'll try to pull you back into the chaos because your calm makes them uncomfortable. Let them talk. Let them judge. You're not living for their approval anymore. You're living as a sovereign being in a world of puppets, and that's the most powerful position you can occupy. So here we are. You've learned what most people spend their entire lives avoiding, that emotional reactions are leaks in your armor, that every time you respond from emotion instead of strategy, you're handing power to someone else. Machiavelli didn't write about being liked. He wrote about being effective, about surviving in a world that doesn't care about your feelings, about understanding that power flows to those who control themselves first and others second. The cold truth is this: the world is not kind to emotional people. They use them, burn them out, discard them, because emotional people are predictable, and predictable people are controllable. But you're different now. You've seen the game, you understand the rules, and you know that the person who stays calm while everyone else panics, that person writes the future. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, tries to break you, tries to drag you into their chaos, remember this: you're not here to react, you're here to rule. Stay cold.